Fourth oral question, Lord Harris of Haringey.
My Lords, I refer to my interest as an advisor to Performanta and as Chair of the National Preparedness Commission, and beg leave to ask the question standing in my name.
The CrowdStrike software update caused an IT outage affecting millions of devices around the world. In the UK, while government, emergency and security systems remained operational, our retail, transport and healthcare sectors were disrupted, and I have huge sympathy for all those affected. Cobra officials meetings were convened, and officials from across government and the devolved administrations met throughout to monitor impacts and recovery and to update ministers as appropriate. UK sectors have now returned to normal operations, and the Cabinet Office will work with partners to review the lessons learned.
My Lords, I'm very grateful to my noble friend for that reply. It highlights how vulnerable all the systems on which the public and the private sectors rely, how much they depend on the software and so on. Software manufacture is largely unregulated. And is it possible for the government to look at how it can strengthen the requirements on software providers to ensure the safety and security of what they supply to the public and private sectors? And at the same time, will they remind all operators that they should actually plan for failure? They should plan for when something doesn't work. What are their backup arrangements in the event of their software failing?
I'd like to thank my noble friend for that question, and also for his huge support to me in my previous role when I was chair of the London Resilience Forum. Although the outage isn't assessed to be a security incident or cyber attack, the issues that he raises will be covered in the Cyber Security and Resilience Bill included in the King's Speech, which will strengthen our defences and ensure that more essential digital services than ever before are protected. For example, it will look at expanding the remit of the existing regulation, putting regulators on a stronger footing and increasing the reporting requirements to build a better picture in government of cyber threats.
My Lords, among those companies most adversely affected in this country were airlines, and many thousands of passengers were hugely inconvenienced. How should they be compensated, and should CrowdStrike be held accountable?
I think all of us would have huge sympathy for those who are affected, and as the noble Lord rightly says, thousands of people were affected on the day. However, compensation is a matter for the individual operators and subject to consumer rules, which would cover any entitlement to compensation or refunds.
My Lords, clearly, in the light of recent events, we're talking not just about bad actors. Does the Minister agree that there needs to be a rethink on critical national infrastructure, such as our dependence on a few overly dominant major tech companies for cloud services and software, which are now effectively essential public utilities? And, my Lords, will the government also reconsider how we're wholesale replacing reliable analogue communications with digital systems without any backup?
The noble Lord raises a number of really critical issues there, a number of which will be covered by the Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill, and I'd welcome the opportunity to discuss the issues raised with the noble Lord further. Thank you.
My Lords, when the...
Can I warmly welcome the noble Baroness to her new role, and I look forward to working with her on the bill that she's mentioned. I mean, this serious incident affected operations, not only in the UK, but right round the world. But it does appear that the system that we've set up, coordination, monitoring, business continuity, and actually backup, which we heard about from the noble Lord Lawrence Paris, worked well. But does the Minister agree that this area is really about defending national assets and is likely to be increasingly important as the cyber and the tech threat grows, and should therefore be a government priority?
So I'd like to thank the noble lady for her question, and also for her openness and engagement with me when she was a minister, and her passion for improving resilience was clear in how she carried out the role. I think this is definitely a really central concern of the incoming government, which is why we had the introduction of the Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill introduced in the King's Speech, and I look forward to discussing that further with her and other noble lords from around the House as that progresses through the legislative process.
My Lords, as the government continues to consider the issues arising from this serious outage, can I invite my noble friend the Minister to consider seriously the reports issued by the Joint Committee on National Security Strategy, of which I have been a member, which deal with issues like ransomware, against which, of course, the software was designed to protect us, because these issues are only going to become more and more important in the years ahead.
So my noble friend raises similar points to some of the other noble lords raising questions today, and I think quite rightly members from across the House concerned about this. I think that as part of the process of developing and taking the Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill through this House and the other place, all learning from a range of reviews, including some of the public inquiries that have reported and are yet to report, will be key to improving our country's resilience.
Lords, may I welcome the noble lady to her place, and may I pick up on a point made by the noble Lord Clement Jones. The noble lady is quite right to say that millions of devices throughout the country were affected, but they were, as I understand it, all devices using the Microsoft operating system. Is it not the case that the dominance that Microsoft has achieved as the operating system in this country, reinforced by cautious corporate IT managers who always recommend it, has become potentially a threat to our security, and is something that I would hope the government would be able to recommend that the Competition Commission or some other competent authority should look at, with a view to reducing the dominance of Microsoft and increasing our resilience?
So I thank the noble lord for his question, which packs quite a lot into it. I think that it's one thing agreeing with him that actually the dominance of any particular software company or IT system is a risk to resilience, as has been known in relation to resilience for some time by government. But I think that we need to look at it as a whole, and without wanting to sound like a broken record, I do think this will be something that is covered by the Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill as it proceeds through the House. Yes, it will.
One of the public services that was specifically hit was the NHS. And so I'd like to ask the noble lady, the Minister, why systematic backup systems aren't in place in the NHS for primary care and pharmacy. And as a matter of urgency, who has been asked to take this forward to ensure that such systems are in place as a matter of urgency for those who are ill?
Yeah.
So all relevant departments are going to take part in the review, and I will feed back the specific points made both the Cabinet Office but also to colleagues in the Health Department. I think, going back to the previous point about the widespread use of specific software systems, this is also something that needs to be taken seriously as we move forward with the proposed legislation.
Area of weakness is PNT. Can I ask the noble lady, the Minister, how are we actually going to ensure that we still have traditional navigational and time signals of the correct type to enable all of our systems to work? And will we maintain a task group to work within this area to try and resolve it by next year?
I will take the point my noble friend raises back to colleagues and discuss it, and right back to the noble lord my noble friend at the earliest possibility.
Returning to the United States in the last few days has been very inconvenienced by what has occurred, and I want to ask the noble lady, in any legislation that we now pursue in relation to data protection generally, and indeed AI for that matter, that we will adequately look at the question of redress It is a vital component of the GDPR, and I therefore ask her to look carefully at this and make sure that adequate redress is available across all these matters.
So the government is reviewing what happened and will implement any lessons learned with a matter of urgency. We do appreciate the significant inconvenience caused to those affected, but it is a matter for individual operators, and the consumer rules cover specific compensation entitlement. But the essential point that from my view, arising from the issues caused by CrowdStrike, is the need to strengthen our resilience, which is what this government intends to do.
My Lords, that concludes oral questions.